She accidentally called the Vampire King by his true name from 1,000 years ago. He hadn't told anyone. The entire throne room went silent, every immortal eye turning to stare at the trembling librarian who'd just spoken a name that shouldn't exist anymore. What she didn't realize was that the lonely king who'd forgotten himself over centuries of existence would move heaven and earth to understand how she knew him, how she'd seen the person he used to be before time erased him. The ancient manuscript was heavier than it looked. Dr. Emma Chen struggled with the leather-bound tome, its pages brittle with age, as she navigated the marble corridors of the Eternal Court. 3 days working in the Vampire King's private library, and she still wasn't used to the weight of immortal eyes following her every movement. She'd taken this contract out of desperation. Her university position had been eliminated. Her research grants had dried up. When the letter arrived offering obscene amounts of money to catalog and translate an ancient library, she'd accepted before reading the fine print. The library belonged to King Lucian Ashford, oldest living vampire in the Western Territories. The job required residing in his fortress for 6 months. No outside contact. No leaving the grounds. Complete dedication to the work. Emma had agreed because she had no other options. Now, carrying a manuscript written in a dead language nobody had spoken in a millennium, she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. The throne room doors were open. She could see inside to where King Lucian held court. He sat on a throne of black marble and silver, wearing modern clothing that somehow looked ancient on him. Black suit. No tie. Dark hair pulled back. His face was beautiful in the way marble statues were beautiful. Perfect. Cold. Utterly inhuman. Around him, his court conducted business, vampires in expensive clothing discussing territory disputes, trade agreements, political alliances. Their voices were cultured and careful, every word measured, every gesture controlled. Emma had been instructed to bring manuscripts directly to the king for verification before cataloging. She approached the throne room slowly, clutching the heavy book. A court attendant, a vampire woman in a sleek gray suit, intercepted her. "You're the translator," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Emma replied. "I need the king to verify this manuscript's authenticity before I continue working on it." The attendant's eyes flickered to the book. "What language?" "I'm not certain," Emma admitted. "It's Proto-Germanic but older. Pre-Runic. Possibly 1st or 2nd century. The writing system doesn't match anything in the historical record." The attendant's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture. "Wait here." She glided away, spoke quietly to the king. Emma watched Lucian's head turn slightly. His eyes, dark and fathomless, found her across the room. He gestured once. The attendant returned. "The king will see you now." Approached the throne. Emma's hands were sweating. She crossed the vast room, aware of every vampire watching her. She was the only human present, the only warm beating heart in a room full of immortal predators. She stopped 3 paces from the throne and bowed slightly, the way she'd been instructed. "Your Majesty," she said. "I found this manuscript in the Eastern Archive. The language is extremely old. I wanted to verify its authenticity before proceeding with translation." Lucian studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Show me." Emma approached closer, holding out the book. Lucian took it from her hands. His fingers brushed hers. Ice cold. He opened the manuscript carefully, scanning the ancient text. His expression remained perfectly neutral, but Emma noticed his fingers tighten slightly on the pages. "This is," he paused, "very old. Can you read it?" Emma nodded. "Some of it. The language is archaic, but I've been studying Proto-Germanic dialects for 15 years. I can make out maybe 60%. What does it say?" Lucian's voice was soft, but it carried through the silent room. Emma pulled out her notebook. It appears to be a historical record, a chronicle of a king or chieftain. The writer describes battles, alliances, the founding of a settlement. There's a section about. She hesitated. "About what?" "About transformation," Emma said carefully. About a king who was changed, who became something else, who lived while everyone he knew died, who watched centuries pass until he forgot who he'd been before. The throne room was absolutely silent. Lucian stared at the manuscript as if it might bite him. "Read it," he said quietly, aloud. In the original language. Emma swallowed. "Your Majesty, I'm not sure my pronunciation." "Read it," Lucian repeated. His voice held an edge now. "Please." Emma opened her notebook where she'd been transcribing. She began to read, pronouncing the ancient words as best she could. Her voice echoed in the silent throne room, speaking a language dead for 1,000 years. She read about a warrior king, about battles won and lost, about a terrible choice made in desperation, about transformation and immortality and the slow erosion of self across endless time. And then she reached a passage that made her pause. "What is it?" Lucian asked. "This part," Emma said. It's a name. The king's name before transformation. His true name. His." She stopped, suddenly aware of every vampire in the room watching her. "Speak it," Lucian said. His knuckles were white on the throne's arms. Emma took a breath and pronounced the ancient name carefully. Alaric Wolfsong, son of the Wolf clan. King of the eternal winter. The effect was immediate. Lucian's eyes went wide. The manuscript fell from his hands, hitting the marble floor with a sound like thunder. He stood abruptly, his controlled composure shattering. Around the room, vampires exchanged shocked glances. "How?" Lucian's voice cracked. "How do you know that name?" It's in the manuscript," Emma stammered. "The Chronicle. It describes." "No one knows that name," Lucian interrupted. He descended from the throne, moving toward her with inhuman speed. "I haven't spoken it in 900 years. I haven't heard it in longer. That name died with everyone who knew me." "How? How do you know it?" Emma backed up a step. "I just read it. It's written here." "Show me," Lucian demanded. Emma retrieved the fallen manuscript with shaking hands. She pointed to the passage. "Here. See? These characters spell Alaric, and these mean wolf song or wolf singer. It's your name." "It's my name," Lucian whispered. He stared at the ancient text as if seeing a ghost. "That was my name. Before I forgot." His eyes lifted to Emma's. "Who are you?" "Just a translator," Emma said. "A historian. I study dead languages, that's all." "You spoke my true name," Lucian said. "The name I was born with. The name I carried for 32 years before I was turned. The name I deliberately tried to forget because remembering who I'd been made immortality unbearable. And you just read it from a book." Emma didn't know what to say. Around them the court was in chaos. Vampires whispering urgently. The attendant who'd escorted Emma looked pale despite being undead. Lucian seemed not to notice any of it. He was staring at Emma like she'd performed a miracle. "Say it again," he said quietly. "Please, say my name." "Alaric," Emma whispered. "Alaric Wolfsong." Something in Lucian's, in Alaric's, expression cracked. For just a moment, Emma saw something ancient and wounded and desperately lonely flash across his perfect features. "I haven't been that person in so long," he said. "I made myself forget. I buried Alaric so deep I thought he was gone forever. But hearing you say it," his voice broke. "Hearing someone call me by the name my mother gave me. I remember." "What do you remember?" Emma asked gently. Alaric sank back onto his throne. He looked lost, vulnerable, nothing like the controlled vampire king who'd been conducting court moments ago. "Everything," he whispered. "Snow, the smell of pine forests, my sister's laugh, My father teaching me to fight. The weight of a sword. The taste of mead. Being warm. Being alive. Being Alaric. He looked at Emma with desperate intensity. How much of my story is in that book? I don't know, Emma admitted. I've only translated the first 20 pages. But if this is your chronicle, if someone recorded your life, there might be more. I need to know, Alaric said. Everything. Who I was. What I cared about. Who I loved. What I lost. I've spent 900 years being Lucian Ashford. Cold. Controlled. Efficient. I barely remember being Alaric Wolfsong. But I want to. I need to. Will you help me? Emma looked at the ancient manuscript, at the vampire king who'd forgotten himself, at the court full of immortals watching this moment of unprecedented vulnerability. This was not what she'd signed up for. This was dangerous and complicated and absolutely insane. Yes, she said. I'll help you remember who you were. Alaric's eyes closed briefly. When they opened, they were bright with something that might have been tears if vampires could cry. Thank you, he said. Then, quieter, thank you, Emma. The court session ended abruptly. Alaric dismissed everyone with a wave of his hand. Vampires filed out, still whispering among themselves. The attendant lingered. Your Majesty, she said carefully. Perhaps we should discuss. Not now, Celeste, Alaric interrupted gently. Please. I need a moment. The attendant, Celeste, looked at Emma with something between concern and warning. Then she left. Emma and Alaric were alone in the vast throne room. I should explain, Alaric said. About true names. In vampire culture, true names have power, Emma said. I've read about it. The name you were born with. The name tied to your mortal soul. Knowing it gives influence over you. Exactly, Alaric confirmed. Which is why we hide them. Bury them. Forget them if we can. It's safer. But it also means you lose yourself, Emma finished. You become immortal, but you forget who you're being immortal as. Yes, Alaric said simply. He looked at her. You're the first person in centuries who knows my true name. That makes you dangerous. Or precious. I'm not sure which. Maybe both, Emma suggested. Maybe both, Alaric agreed. He stood. Come, bring the manuscript. We have 1,000 years to excavate. I want to know who I was before I forgot how to be human. Would you risk everything for a love that transcends time itself? Tell me in the comments, do you believe in destiny? The library was unlike anything Emma had ever seen. It sprawled across 3 floors of the fortress's eastern wing, with floor-to-ceiling shelves containing texts from every era. Some books were bound in leather, others in materials she couldn't identify. Some glowed faintly with residual magic. Alaric led her to a private reading room. Windows showed a courtyard garden where night-blooming flowers released perfume into the darkness. He'd changed out of his formal clothing into something simpler. Black shirt. Dark trousers. He looked younger somehow, less like an ancient king and more like a man. Sit. He gestured to a leather chair near the fireplace. Tell me what you know about my life. Emma opened the manuscript carefully. I've only translated portions, but from what I can piece together, you were born around 1023 AD in what's now northern Germany. Your clan controlled territory along the Baltic coast. You became chieftain at 19 when your father died. I was 20. Alaric corrected quietly. My father was killed in a border raid. I wasn't ready, but I had no choice. Emma made a note. You're remembering. Fragments, Alaric said. Your voice speaking that ancient language. It's unlocking things. Please continue. You ruled for 12 years, Emma said. The chronicle describes you as a fair leader. Strong warrior. You had a sister. Greta, Alaric whispered. Her name was Greta. She was 3 years younger than me. She used to braid flowers into her hair and tell me I took everything too seriously. She was right. I did. Emma felt her throat tighten. The chronicle mentions her death, plague. Winter of 1055. The same plague that was killing everyone. Alaric's hands clenched. I watched half my people die. Watched my sister burn with fever. I was desperate. When the stranger came offering salvation, offering immortality, I didn't think. I accepted. The stranger was a vampire, Emma said. An ancient one. He turned you. He said I could live forever, Alaric said, become strong enough to protect everyone I loved. What he didn't mention was that I'd become the thing I was protecting them from. That I'd have to watch them age and die anyway. That immortality just meant being alone longer. Emma read from the manuscript. The chronicle says you tried to rule as a vampire at first. Tried to protect your people. But they feared me, Alaric finished. Rightfully, I wasn't their king anymore. I was a monster wearing his face. So I left, disappeared, let them think I died. Started over somewhere else as someone else. And you've been starting over ever since, Emma said gently. New names, new identities. Every few decades you become someone different, until you forget who you started as. Alaric moved to the window, stared out at the night garden. Do you know what it's like to live 1,000 years? To watch empires rise and fall? Languages evolve and die? Everything you knew become ancient history. You start erasing yourself because remembering hurts too much. You become cold because caring means endless grief. You forget your name because hearing it reminds you of everyone who used to say it who's gone now. I can't imagine, Emma said honestly. No, Alaric agreed. You can't. But maybe you can help me remember anyway. What else does the chronicle say? Emma spent the next hours reading and translating. The manuscript was detailed, written by someone who'd known Alaric well, perhaps a scholar or skald in his court. It described his childhood, his training, his relationships, his fears and hopes, his mistakes and triumphs. It described a man, not a monster. Alaric listened with absolute focus. Sometimes he'd interrupt with a memory the text triggered. Other times he'd sit silently, tears he couldn't shed visible in his eyes. There's a section here about your mother, Emma said carefully. Do you want to hear it? Please, Alaric whispered. Emma read about a woman named Astrid. Strong, wise. A healer who'd taught her son that true strength came from protecting the weak, who died when Alaric was 16, making him promise to care for his sister. I broke that promise, Alaric said. Greta died while I was already immortal. I could have turned her, saved her. But I couldn't. Couldn't condemn her to this existence. So I let her go. Emma set the manuscript down. You honored your humanity by not forcing immortality on her. That took strength. It took cowardice, Alaric countered. I was afraid. Afraid of being alone forever, but more afraid of making her a monster like me. You're not a monster, Emma said firmly. Monsters don't spend 1,000 years ruling fairly. Don't maintain libraries. Don't show vulnerability when hearing their true name. You're just someone who's been alive so long, you forgot how to feel alive. Alaric looked at her. Really looked. For a librarian, you're remarkably insightful about immortal psychology. For an immortal, you're remarkably willing to be vulnerable with a stranger, Emma countered. Alaric smiled slightly, his first real smile she'd seen. You're not a stranger. You know my true name. That makes you. What? Emma asked. I don't know yet, Alaric admitted. But something important. A knock interrupted them. Celeste entered, her expression troubled. Your Majesty, there's been. She paused, looking at Emma. It's court business. I can leave, Emma offered. No, Alaric said. Stay. Celeste, whatever it is, say it. You might want privacy, Celeste insisted. I might want a lot of things, Alaric replied. Privacy isn't one of them. What's wrong? The court is unsettled, Celeste said carefully. Word has spread about the true name incident. Many are. Concerned. Concerned that I showed weakness? Alaric asked. Yes, Celeste admitted. They're questioning whether I'm fit to rule if I can be undone by a single human knowing my birth name? Alaric's voice held an edge. Celeste didn't flinch. Some are saying exactly that. Alaric was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood. Summon the council. Tomorrow evening. We're going to have a conversation about identity and power and what it means to rule. As you wish, Celeste said. She left, but not before giving Emma another warning look. She thinks I'm dangerous to you, Emma observed. Are you? Alaric asked. I don't know, Emma said honestly. I know your true name now. In theory, that gives me power over you. In vampire lore. In practice, Alaric interrupted, it gives you the ability to hurt me in ways no physical weapon could. You could weaponize my identity, use my past against me, destroy the persona I've built over centuries. Will you? No, Emma said immediately. Of course not. Why not? Alaric asked. The question seemed genuine. Because, Emma searched for words. Because I'm a historian. I believe that knowing the past, knowing who people really were, that's valuable. Not as a weapon. As truth, as understanding. You're seeking to understand me, Alaric said, not control me. Exactly, Emma confirmed. Alaric sat back down, picked up the manuscript. Then keep reading. Help me understand myself. I've been Lucian Ashford for 200 years. Before that, I was Nathaniel Gray. Before that, Marcus Frost. Before that, a dozen other names. But I was Alaric Wolfsong first. For 32 years, I was him. And I want to remember what that felt like. Emma continued reading through the night. Vampires didn't sleep, so Alaric had forgotten that humans needed rest. When Emma's eyes started drooping over the text, he noticed. You're exhausted, he said. I apologize. I forgot. It's fine, Emma protested, but she was swaying. It's not fine, Alaric said gently. You need sleep. We can continue tomorrow. Your room is prepared in the West Wing. Celeste will show you. But there's so much more to translate, Emma said. And it will still be here tomorrow, Alaric replied. And the day after, and the century after if needed. I've waited 900 years to remember who I was. I can wait another day. Emma stood reluctantly. She gathered her notes. Before she left, she turned back. Alaric? Yes? Thank you for trusting me with this, with your name, with your past. Thank you for seeing something worth remembering, Alaric replied. Most people look at me and see a king, or a monster, or an ancient vampire. You looked at me and saw Alaric. You saw a person I'd forgotten existed. That's a gift. Emma smiled. Sleep well, she said. Then paused. Do vampires say that to each other? We say rest well, Alaric said. Sleep is for humans. Dreams are for those who still remember how to hope. Do you hope? Emma asked. I didn't, Alaric said quietly. Until today, until someone spoke my name, and I remembered that I used to be a person who hoped for things. Now I think I might be learning how again. Good, Emma said. Everyone should hope for something. Even immortals, especially immortals, Alaric agreed. Rest well, Emma-chan. I'll see you tomorrow evening. Emma left the library. Alaric remained in the reading room holding the manuscript. For the first time in 900 years, he whispered his own name. Alaric Wolfsong. The syllables felt foreign, ancient, but also right, also true. Also like coming home after being lost for a very, very long time. Emma woke to late afternoon sunlight streaming through silk curtains. For a moment, She forgot where she was. Then memory returned. Vampire fortress. Ancient manuscript. A king who'd forgotten his own name. She showered and dressed quickly. A servant, human this time, brought food. Fresh bread. Fruit. Coffee. A note in elegant script. The king requests your presence in the library at sunset. Translation work awaits. Emma ate, reviewing her notes from the previous night. She'd transcribed 30 pages of the chronicle. There were at least 200 more to go. Months of work. Maybe years. Sunset came quickly. Emma made her way to the library, now familiar with the fortress's labyrinthine corridors. She found Alaric waiting in the reading room. But he wasn't alone. A young girl sat in one of the leather chairs. She looked about 12, with dark hair and eyes that were slightly too old for her young face. A vampire child. Rare and unsettling in the way all frozen children were. Emma, Alaric said, I'd like you to meet Lily. He paused. She's my ward. Lily studied Emma with frank curiosity. You're the one who knows his real name. Emma blinked. News travels fast. Vampires gossip like teenagers, Lily said. It's because we have forever to fill with drama. She's not wrong, Alaric admitted. He looked at Lily gently. I've asked Lily to join us. She should understand what we're doing. Why? Lily asked bluntly. You've been Lucian as long as I've known you. Why does it matter what your name was 1,000 years ago? Because, Alaric said carefully, I've realized I've been so focused on surviving that I forgot about living. I forgot about being a person instead of just existing. Just getting through another century, just ruling efficiently. But that's not enough anymore. Lily's expression was unreadable. You've seemed sad, she said quietly. For a long time. Even when you smile. Like you're here, but not really here. That's very perceptive, Alaric said. I have been sad. For centuries. And I think it's because I erased who I was. I thought forgetting would make immortality easier, but it just made me hollow. So what does this, Lily gestured at the manuscript, do? Hopefully, Alaric said. It reminds me how to be Alaric again, how to be someone who feels things. Who cares? Who's more than just an ancient vampire going through the motions? Lily considered this, then turned to Emma. Will it work? Emma chose her words carefully. I think remembering who you were helps you understand who you are now. History isn't just facts. It's context. Understanding. If your guardian can remember who he used to be, maybe he can integrate that with who he's become. Maybe he can be both. Ancient and human. Immortal and alive. Lily nodded slowly. Okay. Then I want to help. I want to know who he was too, so I can understand who he is now. Alaric looked touched. You don't have to. I want to, Lily insisted. You took me in when no one else would, when I was newly turned and terrified. You've been teaching me how to exist as a vampire. Maybe I can help you remember how to exist as a person. Deal, Alaric said softly. Emma felt warmth in her chest. This was more than translation work. This was family, broken and strange and assembled from impossible circumstances, but family nonetheless. She opened the manuscript. Let's continue. The next section of the chronicle described Alaric's relationships, his childhood friend and rival, Eric. His first love, a girl named Sigrid who'd married someone else when Alaric became chieftain. His bond with his warband. His responsibility to his people. Alaric listened, occasionally offering remembered fragments. Lily listened with fascination, learning about a version of her guardian she'd never known. Hours passed. The work was slow, painstaking. Emma would translate a passage, explain context, discuss historical background. Alaric would process, remember, sometimes correct details the chronicle got wrong. Lily would ask questions, drawing connections between past and present. During a break, Lily said something that made Alaric go very still. You were loved. What? Alaric asked. In all these stories, Lily said, everyone loved you. Your mother. Your sister. Your friends. Your people. You weren't just a king. You were someone people chose to love. And then you became immortal and spent 1,000 years making sure no one could love you again because losing them hurt too much. Silence filled the room. Alaric's voice was rough. That's accurate. But sad, Lily said. Because, and I know I'm only 73 years old, so what do I know? But I think being loved is worth the pain of losing them. Otherwise, what's the point of immortality? Just existing forever alone? That sounds like hell. You're 73 going on 1,000, Alaric said with a sad smile. When did you become so wise? When you taught me that being a vampire doesn't mean being a monster, Lily replied. That we can choose to care about things even if they don't last forever. That temporary doesn't mean worthless. I learned that from you. Even if you forgot you knew it. Emma watched this exchange, understanding dawning. Alaric had been teaching Lily the lessons he'd forgotten for himself. I think, Emma said carefully, that's what makes you a good king, not power or immortality, but the fact that you remember how to care, even when you think you've forgotten, even when you try to be cold. You keep choosing compassion. That's the part of Alaric that survived 1,000 years, the part that's still human. Alaric looked between Emma and Lily. Two people who saw him. Really saw him. Not just the ancient vampire king, but the person underneath. I don't deserve, he started. Yes, you do, Lily interrupted. Stop saying you don't deserve things. You deserve to remember who you were. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. Just because you're immortal doesn't mean you have to be miserable. Alaric's composure cracked. He turned away, shoulders shaking. Lily immediately moved to his side. Emma hesitated, then joined them. They stood together. An ancient vampire, a vampire child, and a human historian. A family assembled from grief and loneliness, and the desperate need to be seen. I'm sorry, Alaric said eventually. I haven't let myself feel this much in centuries. It's overwhelming. That's okay, Lily said firmly. Feel it. You're always telling me emotions don't make us weak, they make us alive. Practice what you preach. Alaric laughed. It came out choked but genuine. You're absolutely right. He straightened, wiped his eyes, turned back to them. Thank you, both of you, for seeing something in me worth excavating. We've barely started, Emma said. There's 200 more pages of chronicle, and I suspect there are other manuscripts, other records. Your whole life before transformation. Do you want to keep going? Yes, Alaric said. Absolutely yes. Then let's continue, Emma said. She opened the manuscript to the next section, but before she read, Alaric stopped her. Emma, he said, I need to ask, what you're doing, it's far beyond the translation work I hired you for. This is personal. Intimate. You're helping me reconstruct my identity. Why? You could just do the job and leave. Why invest this much? Emma thought about her answer carefully. Because, she said finally, I became a historian, because I believe the past matters. I believe knowing who people really were, understanding their full context, that's how we honor them. You're not dead. You're here. But you've been treating yourself like you died 1,000 years ago. Like Alaric is just history to be forgotten. But he's not. He's still you, and everyone deserves to know their own story. Everyone deserves to remember who they were before the world changed them. Alaric studied her. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm just a historian, Emma protested. No, Alaric said. You're someone who sees value in excavating difficult truths, who treats people, even immortal ones, with compassion, who believes that remembering is worth the pain. That's rare, that's precious. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. I'm just doing what feels right. Then you have excellent instincts, Alaric said. He settled back into his chair. Please, Continue. Help me remember who I was so I can figure out who I want to be. Emma read on into the night. The council meeting happened the following evening in the Great Hall. Emma had been invited to attend, though Alaric gave her the option to decline. I should be there, she said. If the court is questioning your judgment because of me, I should face that. You don't owe them anything, Alaric said. You're human. They have no authority over you. But you're my friend, Emma replied, and friends show up when things get difficult. Alaric's expression softened. Friend? Yes. I suppose you are. Is that all right? Emma asked. I know, I'm just the hired translator. You're not just anything, Alaric said firmly. You're the person who gave me back my name, who's helping me remember who I was, who treats me like a person instead of a king or monster. That makes you. He paused. That makes you invaluable. The council assembled, 12 vampires, the oldest and most powerful in Lucian's territory. They ranged in age from 200 to nearly 800 years. All of them looked at Emma with varying degrees of suspicion. Alaric sat at the head of the table, composed and regal once more. But Emma could see the difference now. The cracks in his armor. The person beneath the king. Thank you for gathering, Alaric began. I understand there are concerns about recent events. I wanted to address them directly. Lord Castellan, a vampire who looked about 40 with eyes like chips of ice, spoke first. Your Majesty, with respect, you've allowed a human to learn your true name. This is unprecedented. Dangerous. She could use it against you. She could, Alaric agreed. But she won't. How can you be certain? Another council member asked, Lady Vera, who appeared as a stern woman in her 50s. Because, Alaric said, Emma Chen is a historian. Her entire purpose is preserving truth, understanding context, honoring the past. Using my name as a weapon would contradict everything she believes in. I trust her judgment. You trust a human you've known for 3 days, Lord Castellan said flatly. Yes, Alaric replied. I do. The council exchanged glances. Emma could feel their discomfort, their fear that their king was compromised. She spoke up. If I may. The council's attention snapped to her. Most vampires weren't accustomed to humans speaking unbidden. Emma pushed through her nervousness. I understand your concern. True names are sacred, powerful. But I'm not interested in power over anyone. I'm interested in understanding. The king has spent 1,000 years forgetting who he was, because remembering hurt too much. I'm helping him excavate that past so he can integrate it, so he can be whole instead of fractured. That's not a threat to his rule. It's strengthening it. How is dredging up painful memories strengthening anything? Lady Vera asked. Because, Emma said, a leader who understands themselves, who's processed their trauma, who's connected to their own humanity even while being immortal, that leader makes better decisions than one who's spent centuries compartmentalizing and suppressing. The king isn't weak for remembering who he was. He's stronger for it. Lily, sitting beside Alaric, spoke up. She's right. I've known him for 70 years. I've never seen him this alive, this present. Whatever Emma's doing, it's helping. He's not falling apart. He's coming together. Lord Castellan was unmoved. Sentiment is admirable. But it doesn't change facts. The human knows his true name. She has power over him whether she intends to use it or not. What happens when she leaves in 6 months? When the contract ends? We're supposed to trust she'll keep this secret forever? Emma felt Alaric tense beside her. She realized what the council was implying. They wanted her silenced. Permanently. That's enough, Alaric said. His voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. Emma Chen is under my protection. She will complete her translation work. She will leave when her contract ends if she chooses. And she will carry my true name with her into whatever life she lives next. No one will threaten her. No one will harm her. Is that understood? The council members shifted uncomfortably. "Your Majesty," Lord Castellan tried. "I said, is that understood?" Alaric's eyes flashed. The temperature in the room dropped. Every vampire at the table bowed their heads in submission. "Understood," they murmured. "Good," Alaric said. "Now let me be clear about something else. I hired Emma to translate my library. In the process, she discovered my chronicle. She spoke my true name because it was written in a text she was paid to read. This wasn't espionage. It wasn't manipulation. It was." He paused. "It was fate. Or luck. Or divine intervention. I don't know, but I know that hearing my name again, remembering who I was before 9 centuries of immortality hardened me. That's the most important thing that's happened to me in longer than most of you have been alive." He looked at each council member in turn. "I've ruled you fairly. Justly. For how long? 200 years? 300? Have I ever given you reason to doubt my judgment?" "No, Your Majesty," several council members said. "Then don't start now," Alaric said. "Trust that I know what I'm doing. Trust that remembering my humanity makes me a better king, not a weaker one. And trust that Emma Chen is exactly what I claimed. A friend. An ally. Someone who sees value in the person I was before I became this." He gestured at himself. Silence filled the hall. Finally, Lady Vera spoke. "Your Majesty," she said carefully. "We don't doubt your judgment. We're concerned for your well-being. This is a vulnerability we've never seen from you. We worry." "I appreciate the concern," Alaric said, his tone softening. "Truly, but you needn't worry. Emma isn't making me vulnerable. She's making me whole. There's a difference." Lord Castellan studied Emma. "Tell me," he said. "What do you see when you look at our king?" Emma chose her words carefully. "I see someone who's been alive so long he forgot how to live. Someone who loved and lost so many times that he built walls to protect himself. Someone who became exactly what he needed to be to survive 1,000 years. But underneath all that, underneath the king and the vampire and the immortal, I see Alaric. A man who was loved, who loved back, who made hard choices, who carries grief like a mountain on his shoulders. And I see someone who deserves to remember that he was human once, that he's still capable of feeling human things, even now." Lord Castellan's expression shifted slightly. "You care about him. As a person, not just as a subject of study." "I do," Emma admitted. He's remarkable, and he's been alone for far too long." The council members exchanged looks again. This time the glances held something different. Not suspicion. Understanding. Maybe even approval. "Very well," Lady Vera said. "If the king trusts you, we will respect that trust. But know this, Emma Chen. If you betray him, if you use his true name against him, if you cause him harm, there will be nowhere in this world you can hide." "Understood," Emma said firmly. "I won't betray him." The council meeting concluded. As vampires filed out, several approached Emma, some with warnings, some with grudging respect. Lily grabbed Emma's hand. "That was brave." "My heart is still racing," Emma admitted. "You defended him," Lily said. "Even though you're human and they're ancient vampires who could kill you without effort. You stood up and defended him because you think he matters. That's really brave. Or really stupid," Emma said. "Probably both," Lily agreed cheerfully. After everyone left, Alaric approached Emma. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for what you said, for standing with me." "I meant every word," Emma replied. "You do matter. And you deserve people who see that." Alaric studied her face. "You're changing my life," he said. "You know that? You've been here less than a week and you've changed everything. Is that good or bad?" Emma asked nervously. "Good," Alaric said immediately. Terrifying, but good. I've been sleepwalking through centuries. You woke me up. Now I have to figure out what to do with being awake. We'll figure it out together, Emma said. If you want help. I want help, Alaric confirmed. I want. He hesitated. I want you to stay. Beyond the 6 months. Beyond the contract. I want you to stay and help me remember everything. Help me integrate who I was with who I am. Help me become. Become what? Emma asked gently. Become whole, Alaric said. Become someone who's both Alaric and Lucian, both human and vampire, both ancient and alive. I can't do that alone. But with you, I think I might manage it. Emma's heart was pounding. This was more than a job, more than translation work. This was something profound. Okay, she said. I'll stay, as long as you need. Alaric's smile was genuine, warm, the smile of someone who'd been given an unexpected gift. Thank you, he said. Then softer, thank you, Emma. They returned to the library, to the manuscript, to the slow, painful, beautiful work of excavating a life buried under centuries of survival. But something had shifted. This wasn't just historical research anymore. This was connection, understanding. Two people, one mortal and one immortal, building something neither could name but both desperately needed. Outside the reading room, Lily watched them work together. She smiled. Her guardian was finally coming back to himself. And it was all because a historian had accidentally spoken his name and reminded him he used to be a person. Sometimes, Lily thought, the best things happen by accident. 3 weeks into the translation work, Emma discovered something that changed everything. She was working through a section of the chronicle describing Alaric's transformation. The actual moment he became a vampire. The text was fragmented, written in a shaky hand as if the scribe had been disturbed. Emma worked late into the night, alone in the reading room. Alaric was dealing with territory disputes. Lily was with her tutors. Emma had insisted she could continue without them. The passage was difficult. The language shifted between dialects, suggesting multiple sources compiled together. Emma translated slowly, piecing together meaning. And then she read something that made her blood run cold. She read it again. Then a third time. Then she grabbed the manuscript and ran. She found Alaric in his study, reviewing reports. He looked up in surprise as she burst through the door. Emma? What's wrong? The transformation, Emma said breathlessly. The chronicle. It describes what happened, how you were turned. I know the basics, Alaric said. A vampire elder came to my village during the plague, offered immortality. I accepted to save my people. No, Emma interrupted. That's not what happened. Alaric went very still. What do you mean? Emma opened the manuscript with shaking hand. The chronicle says the vampire who turned you. He didn't just offer immortality. He made you a deal. A blood contract. You could become immortal, but only if you gave up your ability to love, to truly connect with others. The transformation would make you physically immortal but emotionally dead. Alaric's face went pale. That's not. He paused. Is it? Emma read the passage aloud in the ancient language, then translated. The king agreed to the dark bargain. Immortal life in exchange for immortal loneliness, the power to survive forever at the cost of never again feeling the bonds that made survival worthwhile. The stranger sealed the deal with blood and ancient magic, and Alaric Wolfsong, who had loved deeply and freely, became something that could only remember love. Never feel it again. Silence filled the study. That can't be right, Alaric said. His voice was hollow. I felt things. I care about Lily, but he stopped. Because he was remembering 900 years of emotional numbness, of going through the motions, of caring in theory but never in practice, of being alone even when surrounded by people. Emma continued reading, but the chronicle says something else. Something the vampire who turned you didn't know. The passage describes it as a loophole. What loophole? Alaric demanded. Emma's hands trembled on the pages. The contract said you couldn't love. But it didn't account for someone loving you first. Someone who saw through the immortality to the person underneath. Someone who chose to love Alaric, not Lucian. Someone who knew your true name and spoke it with affection instead of fear. If that happened, if someone broke through by seeing and naming the real you, the contract could break. You could feel again. Alaric was standing now, pacing. That's not possible. Blood contracts don't have loopholes. The magic is absolute, unless, Emma said, the vampire who made the contract was arrogant. Unless he assumed no one would ever learn your true name, that you'd bury it so deep that Alaric Wolfsong would effectively cease to exist. But I found the chronicle. I spoke your name. She stopped, realizing what she was about to say. You what? Alaric asked. His eyes were intense, desperate. I care about you, Emma whispered, not as the vampire king. Not as an ancient immortal. As Alaric. As the person who lost everything and kept going anyway. As someone who deserves to be seen and known and loved. The word hung in the air between them. Alaric stared at her. Emma, he said carefully, do you understand what you're saying? I'm saying, Emma took a breath. I'm saying that over these past weeks, getting to know who you were and who you are, I've fallen in love with you, with all of you. Alaric and Lucian, the ancient king and the grieving man, the vampire and the human he used to be. And I think maybe that's breaking the contract, because you're feeling things again, aren't you? Alaric's composure shattered. He sank into a chair, put his head in his hands. Yes, he whispered, I'm feeling everything. When you spoke my name that first time, something cracked open, and every day since it's been breaking wider. I thought I was just remembering, but it's more than that. I'm feeling things I haven't felt in 9 centuries. Fear, hope, joy, and love. He looked up at her. I love you, Emma Chen. I didn't think I was capable of it anymore. I thought that part of me died with Alaric. But you brought him back. Brought me back. And now I'm feeling everything, and it's overwhelming and terrifying and beautiful, and I don't know what to do. Emma crossed to him, knelt beside his chair. You don't have to do anything except feel it. Let yourself feel it. You've been numb for so long. Let yourself be alive again, even while being immortal. But I'm a vampire, Alaric said. You're human. You'll age. You'll die. I'll have to watch you. I'll lose you. Like I've lost everyone. Like you lost your sister, Emma said gently. Like you lost your mother and friends, and everyone you knew. But Alaric, you loved them. And that love mattered even though they died. It still matters now. The fact that I'm mortal doesn't make this worthless. I can't. Alaric's voice broke. I can't survive losing you. Not after just getting you. Not after you gave me back the ability to feel. Emma took his hands. Then we make the time we have matter. We don't waste it being afraid. We choose each other. For however long we have. Isn't that what makes love real? Choosing it even when it's temporary? Even when it's going to hurt? Alaric pulled her into his arms, held her like she might disappear. I've been alone for so long, he whispered into her hair. So lonely I forgot what connection felt like. And now you're here and I'm feeling everything and I'm terrified. I know, Emma said. I'm terrified, but I'd rather be terrified and alive with you than safe and numb without you. They stayed like that for a long moment. An immortal vampire, and a mortal human. Holding each other, choosing each other despite every logical reason not to. Finally, Alaric pulled back, looked at her face, cupped her cheek with cool fingers. "May I kiss you?" he asked. "Please," Emma whispered. The kiss was gentle, careful. Alaric's lips were cool against hers, but there was warmth underneath. Centuries of suppressed feeling pouring through. Emma felt tears on her cheeks, couldn't tell if they were hers or his. When they broke apart, Alaric was smiling. Actually smiling. Not the controlled expression of a king, but the genuine joy of a man who'd forgotten happiness was possible. "I love you," he said again, practicing the words, testing them. "I love you, Emma Chen. And I don't know what we do now, but I know I want to figure it out with you." "We continue translating," Emma said. "We keep excavating your past. We help you integrate Alaric and Lucian. We build something together, for however long we have, and we don't let fear of the future steal the present." Alaric kissed her again, less gentle this time, more certain. "Yes," he said, "yes to all of that." The door burst open. Lily stood there, eyes wide. "I felt it," she said. "The magic, something huge just broke. What happened?" "The blood contract," Alaric said. "The one that made me unable to feel love. It shattered." "Because Emma knew your true name," Lily said, understanding dawning, because she loved Alaric instead of fearing Lucian. "Because she broke the curse by seeing you. This is huge. This is everything. It is." Alaric agreed. He stood, pulling Emma with him. "Lily, I need you to summon the council." "Tonight, why?" Lily asked. "Because," Alaric said, "I'm about to make some changes, starting with officially courting Emma Chen. I want the court to understand that she's not just the translator. She's mine, and I'm hers. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with a vampire king who just remembered how to feel protective rage." Lily grinned. "This is going to cause so much drama. I love it." She disappeared to summon the council. Alaric turned back to Emma. "You're sure about this?" he asked. "About being with me? About dealing with vampire politics and immortal drama, and everything that comes with loving someone who'll outlive you by centuries?" "I'm sure," Emma said. "I'm absolutely terrified, but I'm sure." "Good," Alaric said, "because I'm terrified too. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safely alone for another 1,000 years." They had 2 hours before the council meeting. They spent it in the library, reading the chronicle, learning more about who Alaric had been, planning who they wanted to become together. And for the first time in 900 years, Alaric felt hope. Not the abstract concept he'd been teaching Lily, but real, visceral hope. The kind that comes from loving someone and being loved back. The kind that makes even immortality feel like a gift instead of a curse. The council meeting was tense. 12 ancient vampires gathered in the Great Hall, summoned urgently, unsure what crisis warranted immediate assembly. Lord Castellan looked particularly annoyed. "Your Majesty," he said, "it's barely been 3 weeks since the last emergency council. What requires such urgency?" Alaric stood at the head of the table, Emma beside him. Lily sat in her usual place, barely suppressing a grin. "I'm making an announcement," Alaric said, "and establishing new protocols. Regarding Emma Chen." The council's attention sharpened. "Go on," Lady Vera said carefully. "Emma Chen is no longer simply my contracted translator," Alaric said. "As of tonight, she is under my personal protection as my chosen companion. I am formally courting her with the intention of a permanent bond." Silence. Then chaos. Lord Castellan stood abruptly. "You're courting a human? Your Majesty, this is unprecedented. Actually, Alaric interrupted calmly. It's not. Lord Marcus courted a human in 1632. Lady Sarah bonded with a human in 1891. Both had the council's support. Both relationships were recognized. That was different, another council member said. Those were what? Alaric asked. Not the king? Not someone as old as me? I'm aware this is unusual, but my personal life is exactly that. Personal. With respect, Lord Castellan said tightly, your personal life affects all of us. You're our king. Your choices have consequences. I'm aware, Alaric replied. Which is why I'm informing you rather than asking permission. Emma is my choice. That's not negotiable. Lady Vera studied Emma. Does the human understand what this means? Being the companion of a vampire king? I'm learning, Emma said. But yes, I understand it's complicated. Complicated doesn't begin to cover it, Lady Vera said. But not unkindly. You'll be under constant scrutiny. Subject to vampire politics. Expected to navigate a court that's been alive longer than your entire ancestral line. And you'll age while he doesn't. Die while he continues. Are you prepared for that? No, Emma admitted honestly. But I love him anyway. And I'd rather have whatever time we have than avoid it because it's difficult. Lady Vera smiled slightly. Brave. Foolish. But brave. There's something else, Alaric said. The chronicle Emma's been translating. It revealed something. I'd like to share it with you. He explained the blood contract, the curse that had made him emotionally numb for 9 centuries, the loophole that Emma's love had broken. When he finished, the council sat in stunned silence. You've been under a curse this entire time, Lord Castellan said. All these centuries you've been. Yes, Alaric confirmed. Unable to truly feel love or connection. Going through the motions. Surviving, but not living. Until Emma spoke my true name and saw Alaric instead of Lucian. Until she loved the person I used to be. That broke the contract. That's why I can feel again. Why I can love again. The council members exchanged glances. This explained much. The centuries of emotional distance. The careful control. The sense that their king was present but not truly there. You've been cursed for 900 years, Lady Vera said slowly, and none of us knew. I didn't know. Alaric said. I thought I'd just changed. Become cold through survival. I didn't realize it was magical compulsion until Emma found the chronicle. Lord Castellan sat back down heavily. This changes things, he admitted. If you've been operating under a curse, if you're only now free of it, we need to understand what that means for your rule. It means, Alaric said, that I'm going to be different going forward. More present, more emotionally available, more willing to connect. I'll still rule fairly, but I'll rule as someone who remembers how to care about outcomes, not just efficiency. Is that acceptable? The council was quiet. Then Lord Castellan did something unexpected. He bowed his head. Your Majesty, he said. I've served you for 300 years. In all that time I've respected your rule, but I've never felt like I knew you. If this curse-breaking means we finally get to know our king, not just obey him, that's not a problem. That's a gift. Other council members murmured agreement. Lady Vera spoke up. The human. Emma. She did this. She freed you. Yes, Alaric said. Then she has our gratitude, Lady Vera said, and our support. She's proven herself more valuable than any of us realized. Thank you, Emma said quietly. I wasn't trying to break curses. I was just translating. Just caring about someone who deserved care. You did both, Lily interjected. And you made him happy. I've never seen him happy before. Not in 70 years. That matters. The council meeting continued. Protocols were established. Emma would have official status as the king's companion. She'd receive protection, resources, support. In exchange, she'd continue translating the Chronicle and helping Alaric integrate his past. When the meeting concluded, several council members approached Emma privately. Lord Castellan surprised her. "I was wrong about you," he said bluntly. "I thought you were a threat, but you've given us back something we didn't even know we'd lost. A king who's fully present. Who can feel. Who's alive again." "Thank you for that. I love him," Emma said simply. "That makes everything else worthwhile." "I can see that," Lord Castellan replied. He hesitated, then added, "Protect him. He's immortal, but he's been wounded for a very long time. Now that he can feel again, he's vulnerable in new ways. Help him remember how to be strong while being open." "I will," Emma promised. After everyone left, Alaric, Emma, and Lily returned to the library. The reading room felt different now, warmer, less like a historical excavation and more like home. "So," Lily said, settling into her favorite chair, "you two are official now." "We are," Alaric confirmed. He sat close to Emma, their hands intertwined. Lily grinned. "Good, you're both happier. It's nice." She paused. "Does this mean Emma's staying forever?" "Not forever," Emma said gently. "I'm human. I'll age, I'll die, but for as long as I have. Yes, I'm staying." Lily's expression became serious. "Have you thought about turning? Becoming immortal so you can stay with him?" "No," Emma said firmly. "Alaric and I have discussed it. I don't want to become a vampire. And he doesn't want me to give up my humanity. We're choosing to make our time together matter instead of trying to extend it artificially." Alaric squeezed her hand. "Emma's mortality is part of who she is. I won't take that away. Even if it means losing me," Emma finished. "We've accepted that. It's going to hurt. But the alternative, me becoming something I'm not just to stay longer, that would hurt differently. We'd rather have authentic time than infinite time that's not really us." Lily was quiet for a moment. "That's really sad. And really beautiful. And really brave. I don't know if I could do it. Choose to love someone knowing you'll lose them." "You do it every day," Alaric said gently. "You're immortal. Everyone you care about who's human will die eventually. But you still care. You still love. That's the same choice." "I guess," Lily said. "But it's different when it's romantic love. When it's your person." "Yeah," Alaric agreed. "It is different. It's terrifying." But Emma's worth the terror. They spent the evening reading more of the Chronicle. But now, when Alaric remembered painful moments, Emma was there to hold his hand. When Emma struggled with difficult translations, Alaric helped with context. When Lily had questions, they both answered. They'd become a family. Strange and assembled from impossible circumstances, but real. Around midnight, Emma yawned. Alaric noticed immediately. "You need rest." "I'm fine," Emma protested. "You're exhausted," Alaric said. "Go, sleep. The Chronicle will be here tomorrow." After Emma left, Lily looked at Alaric. "You're different now." "How?" Alaric asked. "Softer," Lily said. "But not weak, just more you. More real." "Like the walls came down." "They did," Alaric confirmed. "Emma tore them down. Showed me I didn't need them anymore. I can be strong and vulnerable. Ancient and alive. King and person. I don't have to choose." Lily smiled. "I'm happy for you. Really happy. Even if it's going to be sad later when she dies," Alaric said quietly. "Yes, it's going to destroy me. But Lily, these weeks with her, remembering who I was, learning who I can be, this is the most alive I've felt in 900 years. That's worth the eventual grief." "You're sure?" Lily asked. "Completely sure," Alaric said. "I've spent centuries being safe, being numb, being protected from loss by refusing to love. And it's been death. Slow, endless death. Emma's giving me life again. Real life. With all the joy and terror that includes. Even if it's temporary, it's real. That's everything. Lily hugged him, her small vampire form pressed against his chest. I'm proud of you, she whispered, for being brave enough to feel again. Thank you, little one, Alaric said, for standing with me through all of this. Always, Lily said. That's what family does. 6 months into their relationship, the chronicle was complete. Emma had translated all 400 pages. Alaric's entire mortal life was documented, understood, integrated. But the work had changed from historical research into something else. It had become the foundation of their love. Learning who Alaric was helped Emma understand who Lucian could be. They celebrated the translation's completion with a private dinner. Alaric had arranged for human food, remembering dishes from his mortal life. Emma cooked, using recipes from the chronicle. This is strange, Alaric said, watching her work in the fortress kitchen. I haven't eaten for pleasure in centuries. I want you to taste your mother's bread, Emma said. The chronicle describes it. I found a recipe that's close. I want you to remember that you were someone who loved simple things. When the bread was ready, Alaric took a bite. His eyes closed. For a moment, he was Alaric Wolfsong again, a young man eating his mother's bread on a cold winter morning. Thank you, he whispered, for giving me this. For giving me all of it. They ate together, and Alaric remembered being human. Remembered that immortality didn't have to mean forgetting joy. After dinner, Emma had something to show him. I found something else, she said. In the library. Not part of the chronicle. Another text. What? Alaric asked. Emma produced a smaller manuscript. This is your sister's diary, Greta's. She kept a journal. It survived somehow. Ended up in your library. I've been translating it. Alaric went very still. Greta wrote about me? Emma nodded. Want to hear it? Please, Alaric breathed. Emma read Greta's words, a young woman's perspective on her brother. She wrote about how Alaric would wake before dawn to watch the sun rise, how he'd bring her flowers he claimed were from the forest spirits, how he'd let her practice braiding on his hair even though warriors weren't supposed to wear braids, how he'd tell her stories to make her laugh when she was sad. She writes that you were her hero, Emma said softly. That she felt safe because you were her brother. That she knew you'd always protect her. I failed her, Alaric said, his voice rough. She died while No, Emma interrupted. She died of plague. You couldn't have stopped it. And according to her diary. She read the final entry. My brother has changed. Something happened. He's different now. Cold where he was warm. Distant where he was close. I think he made a terrible bargain to try to save us. I wish I could tell him it wasn't necessary. That I'd rather die human with him loving me than live forever with him unable to love anything. But the fever's taking me. I hope he remembers how to be Alaric again someday. How to be warm, how to love. He deserves that. He deserves to be happy, not just immortal. Alaric was crying. Actually, crying. Tears streaking down his pale face. She knew. He choked out. She knew I'd been changed. And she wanted me to be happy. Emma set the diary down, held him while he grieved, for the sister he'd lost, for the centuries he'd spent frozen, for the life he'd sacrificed trying to save everyone and ending up saving no one. I'm sorry, he said eventually. I'm not usually this open. Feel it, Emma said. Let yourself feel it all. That's what Greta wants, for you to be warm again, to love again, to be Alaric. Alaric pulled back, looked at her with red-rimmed eyes. I love you, he said. I love you so much it terrifies me. Because someday I'm going to lose you. Someday I'm going to watch you age and die. And I don't. I don't know if I'll survive it. You will, Emma said gently. Because you'll remember me. You'll remember this. You'll remember that I chose you. That we chose each other. And you won't forget. You won't bury me like you buried Alaric. You'll integrate me. Keep me part of who you are. Can you promise that? Promise, Alaric said. I promise I'll remember you. I'll carry you with me. I won't go numb again. I won't erase you to make the grief easier. I'll feel all of it, and I'll survive. And I'll be both. Alaric and Lucian and Emma's beloved. All of it together. They made love that night for the first time. Slowly, tenderly. Alaric remembered being human enough to make it gentle. Emma reminded him he was loved enough to make it sacred. Afterward, lying tangled together, Alaric spoke quietly. I need to tell you something. Emma shifted to look at him. What? I've been researching, Alaric said. Ways to extend your life without turning you, without making you a vampire. There's old magic. Very old. It can slow aging. Not stop it, but slow it significantly. You could live 200 years instead of 80. Maybe more. Emma went still. That's possible? It's possible, Alaric confirmed. It requires binding yourself to me. Magically. Not turning. Just connecting our life forces. You'd age slower because you'd be drawing on my immortality. But you'd still be human. Still mortal. Just for longer. Why didn't you mention this before? Emma asked. Because, Alaric said carefully, I wanted you to love me for me, not for the possibility of extended life. I wanted our relationship to be about choice, not desperation or fear of death. And now that we're solid, now I can offer it as a gift instead of a bargaining chip. Emma was quiet for a long moment. 200 years. That's a long time. It is, Alaric agreed. Long enough to build a real life together. Long enough for me to not lose you immediately. Long enough. He stopped. Emma finished for him. Long enough to make the eventual loss even harder. Yes, Alaric admitted. It will hurt more, loving you for 200 years instead of 50. Losing you will hurt more. But having you for longer. That's worth any amount of pain. Emma thought about it. 200 years with Alaric. 200 years of love and learning and being seen. 200 years of helping him stay human while being immortal. Okay, she said. Let's do it. Are you sure? Alaric asked. Completely sure, Emma said. I want every moment with you I can have. If we can extend that. If we can have more time. Yes. Absolutely yes. The binding ritual happened a week later. In the Great Hall, with the council as witnesses. Ancient magic, older than vampire kind, older than recorded history. Alaric cut his palm. Emma cut hers. They pressed their hands together, and magic flowed between them. Blue and gold. Death and life. Immortal and mortal. Creating something new. A bond. A connection that would slow Emma's aging, keep her vital and alive for far longer than human life usually allowed. When it was done, Emma could feel Alaric in her blood. In her heartbeat. In her breath. And Alaric could feel Emma. Her warmth. Her mortality. Her precious, temporary life connected to his endless one. We're bound now, he said, for as long as you live. Forever, Emma corrected. Because even after I die, you'll carry me. You'll remember. That's a kind of forever. It is. Alaric agreed. He kissed her. In front of the entire court. In front of everyone, declaring his love for this human woman who'd given him back his name and his heart and his ability to feel. The court applauded. Even Lord Castellan. Even the vampires who'd been skeptical. Because they could see what Emma had done for their king. How she'd brought him back from 900 years of sleepwalking through existence. Lily was crying happy tears. Celeste was smiling. The entire fortress felt different. Warmer, more alive. All because one human woman had accidentally spoken a true name and remembered that vampires were people too. 20 years later, the fortress had transformed. What had been a cold seat of power had become something else. A home, a place where vampires remembered their humanity, and humans weren't afraid. Emma was 42 now, though she looked maybe 30. The binding magic had slowed her aging significantly. She worked in the library still, but now she ran it. The greatest collection of historical texts in the Western Territories, all catalogued, all accessible. She'd trained a staff of scholars, both human and vampire, who understood that knowledge mattered, that remembering mattered, that the past informed the future. Alaric had changed too. He was still King Lucian to the court, still efficient and fair. But he was also Alaric. He laughed now, showed affection publicly, made decisions based on compassion as well as logic. The court had adapted. Some vampires found it unsettling at first, having a king who felt things openly. But most came to appreciate it. Emotional availability made him more approachable, more understanding, a better leader. Lily was 93 now. Though still frozen at 12, she'd become Emma's assistant in the library, had developed her own passion for history, for understanding how immortals and mortals had coexisted across centuries. "They're here," Lily announced one evening, running into the reading room where Emma and Alaric were working. The delegates from the Eastern Territories. "Right," Emma said. "The conference." She'd almost forgotten. Alaric stood, straightened his clothing. "Ready?" he asked Emma. "Ready," she confirmed. The conference was Alaric's idea, a gathering of vampire lords and human leaders to discuss coexistence, to establish protocols that protected both groups, to create frameworks for interaction that didn't rely on fear or domination. It was ambitious, probably impossible. But they'd been planning it for years. The delegates assembled in the Great Hall, 10 vampire lords from across the territories, 10 human representatives from various governments, all skeptical, all watching each other warily. Alaric opened the conference. "Thank you for coming. I know this is unprecedented. Vampires and humans meeting as equals to discuss shared future. But I believe it's necessary. We've been living in parallel for too long, sometimes in conflict, sometimes in uneasy coexistence, but never in true partnership. That needs to change." A human delegate, a woman from the Northern Territories, spoke up. "With respect, Your Majesty. Vampires have power humans don't. Speed. Strength. Immortality. How can we negotiate as equals when the power imbalance is so fundamental?" "A fair question," Alaric said. "Emma?" Emma stepped forward. She'd helped plan this conference, had argued that humans needed to be treated as equal partners, not subjects or prey. "Vampires have physical power," she said. "But humans have something else. Innovation. Adaptability, the ability to change quickly because our lives are short and we can't afford to stagnate. We have resources vampires need. Knowledge vampires can use, skills that immortality sometimes makes you forget. We're not helpless, we're different, and difference can be complementary instead of threatening." A vampire lord, ancient and cold, laughed shortly. "Pretty speech, but ultimately, we could simply take what we need. We're stronger." "Why negotiate?" "Because," Lily interjected from the side of the hall, Being strong doesn't mean you have to be cruel, because vampires who forget they used to be human become monsters. Because isolation makes you weak in ways that have nothing to do with physical power. Because. She looked at Alaric. Because loneliness hurts, and treating humans as resources instead of people makes you lonely forever. The vampire lord studied Lily. Then Alaric. Then Emma. You've built something strange here, he said. A vampire king who loves a human, who feels things. Who treats mortals as equals. It's unusual. It's necessary, Alaric said. I spent 900 years being cold. Efficient. Strong. And I was miserable, completely miserable. I'm stronger now. Not despite feeling things, but because of it. Because I have people I love. People who ground me. People who remind me that existence without connection is just endless nothing. The conference continued for days, debates, arguments, negotiations. Emma mediated many of the discussions. Her unique position, human beloved of a vampire king, gave her credibility with both groups. She could speak to human fears while understanding vampire perspectives. Slowly, painfully, they built frameworks. Agreements about territory, about feeding, about protection, about consequences for violence from either side, about education and cultural exchange, about remembering that both groups were people deserving dignity. By the end, they had something unprecedented. A treaty. Not perfect, not comprehensive, but a start. A framework for coexistence based on mutual respect instead of fear. The delegates signed. Vampire and human names side by side. Alaric signed last, and beneath his formal signature, he added something else. His true name, Alaric Wolfsong. In the ancient script Emma had taught him to write again. A reminder that he was more than just a vampire king, that he was a person with history, with identity, with humanity still intact despite immortality. After the delegates departed, Emma found Alaric in the garden. Their garden, the one they'd planted together over the years, filled with flowers from every era, some alive, some preserved by magic, all beautiful. You did it, she said. Actually created a framework for peace. We did it, Alaric corrected. You were essential. I'm just the translator, Emma teased. You're my partner, Alaric said seriously. In everything. I couldn't have done any of this without you reminding me how to be human while being immortal. They sat together on a bench beneath impossible stars. 20 years together. 180 more to go if the magic held. Then grief, but for now, this moment, this love, this life they'd built together. Emma's hair was streaked with gray now despite the magic. Alaric thought it was beautiful, evidence of time passing, of a life being lived fully. Do you regret it? He asked quietly. Binding yourself to me, giving up a normal human life for this? Never, Emma said firmly. This is the best choice I've ever made. What about you? Do you regret? Regret loving you? Alaric interrupted. Regret remembering how to feel? Regret building all this? Never. Never in 1,000 years. He kissed her temple. You gave me back my name, my heart, my humanity. Whatever grief comes later. This is worth it. I love you, Emma said. I love you, Alaric and Lucian, and everyone you are. I love you, Alaric replied. Emma Chen, the human who saw a vampire king and remembered he used to be a person named Alaric, who loved me enough to break a curse I didn't know I was under, who spent 20 years helping me integrate every version of myself into someone whole. They stayed in the garden until dawn. Alaric had to retreat before sunrise. But Emma remained, watching the sky lighten, thinking about the life they'd built, the fortress that had become home, The vampire who'd remembered how to love. The remaining 180 years stretching ahead. And the grief that would come after. But for now, for this moment, this was enough. This was everything. 50 years after Emma spoke Alaric's true name, the library received a donation. A private collection from a deceased vampire's estate. Among the texts was something that made Emma's heart stop. Another chronicle. Older than Alaric's. Written in an even more ancient dialect. She stayed up for 3 nights straight translating the opening pages. When she understood what she'd found, she ran to find Alaric. He was in council. She interrupted anyway. "I'm sorry," she said breathlessly. "But I found something. It can't wait." Alaric dismissed the council immediately, took one look at Emma's face and knew this was important. "What did you find?" "Another chronicle," Emma said. "But not yours. This one. This one describes the vampire who turned you, the one who made the blood contract." Alaric went very still. "Tell me." "His name was Malachi," Emma read from her notes. He was cursed too, by someone he'd loved and betrayed. The curse was that he'd spend eternity turning others, but every person he turned would eventually break free of his control, would eventually remember how to love, would eventually undo his work. Alaric's hands clenched. "So the contract, the thing that made me unable to love, that was his curse working through me?" "Exactly," Emma said. "But the curse had a built-in failure mechanism. True names. If someone learned a turned vampire's true name and loved them despite knowing their full history, the contract would break. You'd be free." He was cursed to damn people, but also to have that damnation be temporary. "Poetic justice," Alaric said bitterly. "Malachi ruins lives, but never permanently." "There's more," Emma said. The chronicle describes what happened to Malachi. He finally felt such guilt about the people he'd cursed that he walked into sunlight, destroyed himself. But before he died, he wrote down every name, every person he'd turned, every vampire carrying his curse. The list is in the chronicle. Alaric understood immediately. "You're saying there are others. Other vampires who've been cursed like I was, who've been emotionally numb for centuries, who might not know they're under a spell." "Dozens of them," Emma confirmed. "Maybe hundreds. The chronicle lists them all. We could help them," Alaric finished. "We could find them, tell them their true names. Help them break the curse like you helped me. It would take decades. Maybe centuries. But we could. We could give them back their humanity." Emma smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." They started immediately. Using the list from Malachi's chronicle, they identified cursed vampires still alive. Then began the painstaking work of finding their true names. Most had been buried, forgotten, deliberately erased. But Emma had 50 years of experience excavating forgotten identities. She knew how to search, how to piece together fragments, how to restore what had been lost. Alaric provided resources, funding, access, his own reputation to open doors. Together they built a network. Scholars, historians, archivists, all dedicated to finding true names and breaking curses. The first success came 3 years later. A vampire named Corvus, 800 years old, had been emotionally numb since his turning. Emma found his true name in a monastery record from 1214. Thomas Brightwater, when she spoke it to him, explained the curse, watched him feel for the first time in 8 centuries. Corvus had wept. Actually wept, then dedicated himself to helping others, joined their network, became one of their most valuable researchers. More followed. Alexandra, whose true name was Margaret Softfoot, 600 years of numbness ending when a scholar spoke her birth name. Dmitri, born as Ivan Woodwright, 500 years frozen, freed by 2 words. Each freed vampire joined the effort. Soon they had dozens of researchers. Then, hundreds, all working to find cursed vampires and restore their ability to feel. Lily, now 130, took charge of the youth division. Vampires turned young, who'd spent centuries trapped in child or adolescent bodies while unable to feel the emotions that came with growth. She was brilliant at it, understanding exactly what they needed. The work was exhausting. Emma was 70 now, though she looked 50. The binding magic kept her vital, but she could feel time pressing. 130 more years. Then the grief Alaric had been preparing for since they met. But she didn't think about that. She thought about the vampires they'd helped. The lives restored. The curse broken again and again. One evening, working late in the library, Alaric found Emma staring at Malachi's chronicle. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking," Emma said slowly, "that Malachi's curse was beautiful in its own way. He was forced to damn people. But the damnation always had an escape clause. True names. Love. Being seen as a person instead of a monster. He was cursed to show that even his worst crime could be undone by compassion. That's profound." Alaric sat beside her. "You're thinking about legacy." "I'm thinking," Emma said, "that we've helped 300 vampires over 50 years. That's 300 people who can feel again. Who can love. Who can be human while being immortal. And when I'm gone. This work will continue. The network will keep going. Centuries from now, vampires will still be getting their names back, their hearts back. That's everything." "You're thinking about dying," Alaric said quietly. "I'm thinking about living," Emma corrected. "I'm 70, Alaric. I've had 50 years with you. That's already more than most people get, and I've spent it doing work that matters, helping people, building something that outlasts me. When I die, I'll die fulfilled." Alaric's hand found hers. "I'm not ready to lose you." "I know," Emma said gently, "but we've always known this was coming. I'm human. I'm mortal. Even the binding magic just delays the inevitable. I'll have maybe 130 more years. That's still time. That's still more life than I ever imagined. But you should start preparing. Start thinking about what comes after." "I can't," Alaric said. His voice broke. "I can't think about a world without you in it." "You have to," Emma said. "Because I need to know you'll be okay. I need to know that when I'm gone you won't go numb again. You won't erase me. You won't forget how to feel just because feeling hurts. Promise me." Alaric pulled her close. "I promise. I promise I'll remember you. I'll carry you. I'll feel every moment of grief and I'll survive it, and I'll keep being Alaric. Keep being the person you helped me remember how to be. I'll live. Actually live. For both of us." "Good," Emma whispered. "Because you've got work to do. Thousands of cursed vampires still out there. They need you. They need this network we've built. Don't let my death stop that." "It won't," Alaric swore. "I'll keep going. I'll help every vampire I can find. I'll spend the next 1,000 years breaking curses and giving people back their names. For you. Because of you. Because you taught me that remembering who people really are is the most important work there is." They held each other in the library, surrounded by chronicles and true names and histories excavated from forgotten corners. Two people who'd built something beautiful from an accidental moment. From a name spoken without knowing its power. Outside, the network continued to grow. Researchers finding names. Vampires feeling for the first time in centuries. Curses breaking one by one. Malachi's poetic justice playing out across continents and centuries. And at the center of it all, a vampire king who'd been given back his humanity by a historian who believed everyone deserved to remember who they were. Who loved him enough to see Alaric beneath Lucian. Who'd spent 50 years proving that love was stronger than curses. 100 years after speaking Alaric's name, Emma was dying. Not from violence or illness, just from time. Even with the binding magic, she was 142 years old. Her body was finally giving up. Alaric sat beside her bed in their private chambers. Lily was there too, now 203, still looking 12, but with eyes that had seen centuries. Emma's hair was white, her face lined with a lifetime of smiles and concentration, but her eyes were still bright, still intelligent, still full of love. "We did good work," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "We helped thousands of vampires," Alaric said. He was holding her hand, terrified to let go. "Broke every curse we could find. Built a network that will continue for centuries. All because you spoke my name. All because you loved me." Emma smiled. "Best accident of my life." "I love you," Alaric said. His voice was steady despite the grief crushing his chest. "I love you, Alaric Wolfsong and Lucian Ashford and everyone you are. Thank you for 100 years. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being the best part of an impossibly long life." Emma's breathing was slowing. Lily was crying quietly. "Alaric." "Yes? Don't forget me. But don't. Don't stay frozen in grief. Keep feeling. Keep helping people. Keep being both. Both the ancient king and the young man who loved his sister, both the vampire and the human, both strong and vulnerable. Promise. I promise," Alaric said. "I'll live, actually live. I'll remember you every day and I'll let it make me stronger instead of harder. I'll be everything you helped me become." "Good," Emma whispered. She looked at Lily. "Take care of him." "Always," Lily said through tears. "He's family. And you?" Emma said. "You're amazing. Don't forget that just because you're frozen at 12 doesn't mean you can't keep growing inside. Keep learning. Keep being brilliant. Keep being you." "I will," Lily promised. Emma's eyes closed. Her breathing became shallower. Alaric felt the binding magic beginning to fade, the connection between them loosening as her life force diminished. He could feel her heartbeat in his own chest, could feel it slowing, weakening, stopping. Emma Chen died at sunset on a Thursday, surrounded by people who loved her, having lived 142 years of a life that mattered. Alaric felt the moment she left, felt the binding snap, felt the absence where her warmth had been in his blood for a century. The grief was absolute, total, crushing. Everything he'd been preparing for and worse. He wanted to shut down, to go numb, to erase the pain by erasing the feelings. But he'd promised to feel it, to let it hurt, to survive while staying alive. So he did. He felt everything, the loss, the loneliness, the terrible unfairness of loving someone mortal when you're immortal, the gratitude for every moment they'd had, the pride in what they'd built together, the love that didn't end just because she did. Lily held him while he sobbed. A 200-year-old vampire child comforting an 1100-year-old vampire king, both grieving the human woman who'd changed everything. The funeral was massive. Vampires and humans from across the territories. Everyone who'd been helped by the network Emma and Alaric had built. Everyone whose true name had been found. Everyone who'd been given back their ability to feel. They came to honor the historian who'd believed remembering mattered. Who'd loved a vampire king and reminded him he used to be human. Who'd spent 142 years proving that temporary didn't mean worthless. Alaric gave the eulogy. He spoke as Alaric, not Lucian. Spoke about love and loss and the terrible gift of feeling everything. Spoke about Emma's brilliance, her compassion, her absolute faith that everyone deserved to know their own story. He read from her writings, from the notes she'd left, from the journals she'd kept documenting their work, her voice, her words, her legacy. When it was over, They laid her to rest in the garden. Their garden. Where they'd sat together for a century. Where they'd planned and dreamed and loved. The headstone was simple. Emma Chen. Beloved. Reminder that love is stronger than curses. Alaric visited every evening, would sit beside her grave and tell her about the day, about the vampires they'd helped, about the work continuing, about staying alive instead of just existing. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, months to years. The grief didn't lessen. It just changed. Became something he carried instead of something that crushed him. Became integrated instead of overwhelming. 5 years after Emma's death, Alaric did something unprecedented. He stepped down as king. Named a successor from the council. Explained that he needed to focus entirely on the network. On finding cursed vampires. On continuing Emma's work. The council understood. Respected his choice. Some were relieved. Others were sad. All honored his service. Alaric became a full-time researcher. Traveled the world finding true names. Breaking curses. Helping vampires remember how to feel. Lily went with him. She'd become his partner in the work. His family. His reminder that love didn't end when people died. It just transformed. They spent decades traveling. Centuries. Finding vampires who'd been numb for longer than Emma had been alive. Giving them back their names. Their hearts. Their humanity. Each freed vampire joined the network. The work grew exponentially. What had started with Emma speaking one name had become a global movement. Thousands of vampires learning to feel again. Learning that immortality didn't require emotional death. Learning that they could be both ancient and alive. 200 years after Emma's death, Alaric returned to the fortress. The library was now a monument. The network's headquarters. Hundreds of researchers working to find cursed vampires and free them. Lily, now 403, ran the operation. She'd become brilliant at it. Had Emma's gift for seeing people instead of just vampires. For understanding that names mattered. That history mattered. That remembering who you were was essential to becoming who you could be. Alaric walked through the library, past the reading room where he'd first heard his name, past the garden where Emma was buried, past the archives containing thousands of true names, thousands of freed vampires, thousands of people who could feel again because one human woman had believed it was possible. He stopped at Emma's memorial. They'd created one in the library. Her portrait, her writings, her journals, her chronicle of their century together. And beneath it all, engraved in stone, she spoke a true name and changed the world. Alaric touched the engraving. Remembered, not just Emma, but himself. Alaric Wolfsong, the young king who'd been cursed. Lucian Ashford, the ancient vampire who'd forgotten how to feel. And the person he'd become because Emma loved both. Integrated. Whole. Both ancient and human. Both strong and vulnerable, both grieving and alive. He'd kept his promise. He'd felt everything. He'd survived. He'd lived. And he'd helped thousands of others do the same. Thank you, he whispered to Emma's memory. For my name. For my heart. For teaching me that love is worth grief. That temporary is valuable. That remembering who we were helps us become who we're meant to be. Somewhere, somehow. He felt like she heard him, like she smiled, like she was proud. And Alaric Wolfsong, 1100 years old, kept living. Actually living. For both of them. 300 years after Emma's death, the last cursed vampire was found. A woman named Seraphina, turned by Malachi in 9A2 ad. She'd been emotionally numb for over 1,000 years, longer than Alaric had been. Longer than anyone they'd helped. Her true name was found in a monastery in Ireland. hidden in a text about Celtic queens. Elspeth Ravenwing, daughter of the Raven clan. Alaric traveled to meet her personally. She lived in isolation in the Scottish Highlands, had given up on connections centuries ago. When Alaric arrived at her estate, she received him coldly, efficiently, the way he'd once conducted himself. "I know why you're here," she said. "You're part of that network, the one that helps cursed vampires, claims to give us back our feelings." "Yes," Alaric said. "I am, and I can help you, if you'll let me." "I don't want feelings," Serafina said flatly. "I've survived 1,000 years by being numb. Why would I want to feel now?" Alaric understood. He'd felt the same way once. "Because," he said gently, "existing isn't the same as living. I know, I spent 900 years existing. It's lonely, even when you're surrounded by people. Especially then." Serafina's expression didn't change. "What makes you think you understand?" "Because I was cursed too," Alaric said. "By the same vampire who cursed you. Malachi. I was numb for 900 years, until someone spoke my true name and reminded me I used to be a person. That changed everything." Serafina was quiet. "Then, what was it like? Waking up after 900 years?" "Terrifying," Alaric admitted. "Overwhelming. All those centuries of suppressed feeling crashing down at once, but also beautiful. Feeling love again. Joy. Even grief. Even pain. It was being alive again, even while being immortal." "And you think I want that?" Serafina asked. "I think you deserve the choice," Alaric said. "I can speak your true name. Tell you who you were before the curse. And then you decide. You can choose to feel again or choose to stay numb, but at least you'll know it's a choice, not a compulsion." Serafina considered this. Finally, she nodded. "Speak it." Alaric took a breath. "Your name is Elspeth Ravenwing. You were born in 959 AD, daughter of a Celtic chieftain. The chronicles say you were fierce, brave, that you fought beside your father in battle, that you loved your people deeply, that you became chieftain at 23 when he died, that you ruled with wisdom and strength until Malachi found you, until he cursed you and made you forget." Serafina, Elspeth, went very still. Something was happening behind her eyes, emotions cracking through centuries of ice. "You were someone who cared," Alaric continued. "Someone who loved fiercely. Someone who fought for people who couldn't fight for themselves. That person. That's still in there. Under the curse, under the numbness. Elspeth. You're still Elspeth." Tears began streaming down Serafina's face. She looked shocked by them. Hadn't cried in 1,000 years. I remember," she whispered. "My father, my people, the weight of a sword, the smell of heather, being warm, being alive." The curse shattered. Alaric could feel it. The same magic that had broken when Emma spoke his name. The blood contract dissolving, freedom rushing in. Serafina collapsed. Alaric caught her, held her while she felt everything. 1,000 years of suppressed emotion flooding through at once. It took hours for her to stabilize. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were different. Alive. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was rough with crying. "Thank you for giving me back myself." "Emma would say you always had yourself," Alaric replied gently. "The curse just made you forget." "Who's Emma?" Serafina asked. "My beloved," Alaric said. "The human woman who spoke my true name, who loved me enough to break my curse, who spent 142 years helping me remember how to be both ancient and human, who built the network that found you. She's gone now, died 300 years ago, but her work continues." "I'm sorry," Serafina said, "for your loss." "Don't be," Alaric said. "I'm not. I mean, I grieve her every day. I'll grieve her forever. But I'm not sorry I loved her. I'm not sorry I felt everything. The grief is. It's proof the love was real, that it mattered. I'd rather carry this grief for eternity than go back to being numb. Serafina studied him. You really mean that? I really do, Alaric confirmed. Feeling is worth the pain. Living is worth the loss. Being Alaric instead of just Lucian. Being Elspeth instead of just Serafina, that's worth everything. They talked for hours. Alaric told her about the network, about the thousands of vampires they'd helped, about Emma's belief that everyone deserved to know their own story. Serafina listened, processed, felt, and then she made a choice. I want to help, she said. I want to join the network. I want to help other cursed vampires the way you helped me. I want this gift of feeling to matter, to mean something, to change more lives than just mine. Alaric smiled. Emma would have loved you. They returned to the fortress together. Serafina met Lily, now 603. Met the thousands of researchers. Met the freed vampires who'd all been given back their names. And she joined them. Became one of the most passionate advocates, spent decades traveling, finding cursed vampires, speaking their true names, giving them back their ability to feel. Years later, at a network gathering, Serafina approached Alaric. We did it, she said. We found every vampire on Malachi's list. Every single one. Every curse is broken. Alaric felt something shift in his chest. Every one? Every one, Serafina confirmed. The last was found yesterday, a vampire in South America. Turned in 1456. We spoke his true name this morning. He's free. It's done. The work Emma started 300 years ago. It's complete. Alaric sat down heavily, felt tears on his face. Emma, he whispered. We did it. We broke every curse. We helped everyone. Your work, your legacy, it's complete. That night Alaric visited Emma's grave, sat beside the headstone in their garden. Lily found him there. You're thinking about her, Lily said. Always, Alaric replied, but tonight especially. The work's done. Every curse broken, every vampire freed. It's what she wanted, what she worked for, and she's not here to see it finished. She knows, Lily said. Somehow, wherever she is. She knows. And she's proud. Alaric believed that. Had to believe that, because the alternative, that Emma had died without knowing her work would succeed, that was unbearable. I kept my promise, he said to her headstone, to her memory, to the woman he'd loved for 100 years and grieved for 300 more. I felt everything. I stayed alive. I helped thousands of vampires remember how to be human. I lived. Actually lived. For both of us. The wind moved through the garden, rustled the impossible flowers. For just a moment, Alaric could have sworn he felt Emma beside him, could have sworn he heard her voice. Well done, Alaric, Wolfsong. Well done. Lily took his hand. What now? She asked. What do we do now that the work's complete? Now, Alaric said, we live. We help the freed vampires integrate their feelings. We make sure the knowledge doesn't get lost. We document everything so future generations understand. We keep going, keep existing and living and feeling. That's what Emma would want. That's what she taught me. That existing doesn't end just because the main mission is complete. Life continues. So we continue with it. They sat together in the garden, an ancient vampire and his immortal ward. Both shaped by a human woman who'd believed remembering mattered. Both committed to living fully. Feeling everything. Being both ancient and alive. The network continued. Not searching for cursed vampires anymore, but helping them adjust. Teaching newly freed vampires how to handle emotions after centuries of numbness. Documenting histories. Preserving true names. Making sure no one ever forgot who they'd been. Alaric ran the educational division, taught classes on integrating past and present, on being both ancient and human, on letting love and even knowing loss would follow. He spoke about Emma in every class, about the human historian who'd changed the world by speaking one true name, about loving someone temporary and having it matter forever, about keeping promises even when it hurt. Centuries passed. The fortress became legendary, the place where cursed vampires had been freed, where the network had begun, where Emma Chen had spoken a name and changed immortal existence forever. Alaric never remarried, never loved again, not romantically. He had family, Lily, Serafina, the thousands of freed vampires who considered him a father figure, the network that was his life's work. But his heart belonged to Emma, to the century they'd had, to the promise he'd kept, to the grief he carried with honor instead of shame. On the 1,000-year anniversary of Emma speaking his name, they held a ceremony. Every freed vampire gathered, thousands of them, all alive, all feeling, all integrated, all free. They stood in the great hall where it had all begun, where Emma had accidentally spoken a true name and broken a curse, where love had proven stronger than magic. Alaric spoke about Emma, about her brilliance, her compassion, her absolute faith that everyone deserved their own story, about the network she'd started that had freed thousands, about love that outlasted death. And then, together, the gathered vampires spoke their true names, names that had been found, returned, honored. Thousands of voices, thousands of identities, thousands of people who were both ancient and alive because one human woman had believed it was possible. The sound echoed through the fortress, through the centuries, a chorus of remembering, of integration, of gratitude. Alaric closed his eyes and heard Emma in it, heard her voice among the thousands, heard her saying what she'd said in life: everyone deserves to know their own story. And in that moment, after 1,000 years, Alaric finally felt at peace. He'd kept his promise. He'd lived. He'd felt everything. He'd helped thousands. He'd honored Emma's legacy. He'd been both Alaric and Lucian, both the cursed vampire and the freed man, both ancient and human, both grieving and alive. He'd been exactly what Emma had seen in him from the beginning, a person, not a monster, not just a king, a person who'd loved and lost and survived and thrived and built something beautiful from impossible pain. Alaric Wolfsong, 1,100 years old, still living, still loving, still remembering, all because one historian had accidentally spoken his name and reminded him he deserved to exist as more than just survival. The ceremony ended. Vampires dispersed. The fortress quieted. Alaric returned to the garden, to Emma's grave, to the place where he'd spent 1,000 years being both with her and without her. "Thank you," he said one more time, "for my name, for my heart, for teaching me that love doesn't end when life does. That remembering is sacred. That feeling is worth everything. I love you. I'll always love you. And I'll keep living. For both of us." The stars turned overhead, the impossible flowers bloomed, and Alaric Wolfsong, the vampire king who'd been given back his humanity by love, sat in peace beside the memory of the woman who'd changed everything by knowing his name.